Hey everyone! Today we're going to be making a Swiffer cover that is reusable. It is super easy and fun to make, and it doesn't take much time at all. We are going to be using the Sugar and Cream cotton yarn. You can get this at Michael's or Joann's or any craft store. It calls for a 5mm hook, so that's what we're going to be using today. Start off with making a chain of 18. I sped this video up a bit just for time reasons. That's my cat Newt. He enjoys trying to get the yarn while I'm working. Alright, so our first row starts off as skipping the first 2 stitches and going right into that 3rd stitch with a half double crochet, and doing that all the way across. You will end up with 16 half double crochets all together. We are going to start off this second row with a chain 2, and we're going to go right into that first stitch with a half double crochet and just do that all the way across the row again. And we're going to do that 4 more times, same exact thing. Just wanted to add a little side note, those first 2 chains that I just did, they do not count as the first stitch in that row. So you have to do those chains and then go directly into the first stitch of the row. Alright, so we're just coming up on finishing the end of our 6th row of half double crochets. So in this next row that we're going to do, we are going to increase the same 2 chains, go directly into that first stitch, but we are going to half double crochet across only 7 times. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we're going to put an increase in this next stitch. So we're actually just going to do 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. Super easy. And then just continue across half double crochets as normal till the end of the row. Alright, and then after this row, we're going to go into our first row with puff stitches. So we're going to chain 1 and single crochet into those first 2 stitches. And then in that 3rd stitch, we're going to do a puff stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, and then pull up a loop, and then pull through 2 loops. And we're just going to do that same thing, but we're going to do that 4 times in the same stitch. As you can see on our hook, we have 4 double crochets, but we have 5 loops. So we are not going to yarn over. We are just going to skip that first loop and then drag that first loop all the way through those last 4 loops on the hook. We are now going to single crochet in the next stitch, and what that does basically is locks in the puff stitch, so it makes it stick out and give it that puff look. So to continue this row, you will just keep alternating puff stitch, single crochet, and then at the end of the row, when you have 2 stitches left, you will put 1 single crochet in each of those stitches, chain 1, and then turn your work. In the second row above the puff stitch row that we just did, we are going to chain 1 and just single crochet all the way across. You should have 17 single crochets total. You're going to continue on doing the puff stitch row, then the row of the single crochet, then the puff stitch row, and just keep alternating like that until you get 15 puff stitch rows. So it'll be super easy to count. You'll just count all the little puff stitches and you should have 15 rows of those. Okay, so this would be a good place to pause the video, and I will meet you back here when we have our 15 puff stitch rows. Now that we made sure that we had 15 puff stitches, we're going to start our next row with a chain 2, insert the hook, and do a half double crochet in the next 7 stitches. Now we're going to do a decrease stitch, which is yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Then we're just going to continue across as normal, half double crochet in each stitch to the end. And in the next row, we're just going to chain 2, half double crochet in the first stitch, and then a half double crochet in each stitch across. Since we did the decrease, we should now have only 16 half double crochets across. And you're just going to do the same thing. Chain 2, half double crochet in each stitch across, 5 more times. Alright, so now that we're done with those rows, we're going to chain 1, and we're just going to go along the edges of our cover for our Swiffer just to make it a little bit wider, give it a little bit more stretch. And so there's no real rhyme or reason to where I'm putting my stitches. It's basically just all of the spaces that I see without the stretching the yarn out too much or putting stitches too close together. It's kind of, you got to find that sweet spot. So just do that all the way across. Now that we're at the end, we are going to cut off our yarn and leave a little bit of a longer end. We're going to sew those in at the end, I'll show you. But now just kind of knot it off, and then that edge line is done. All right, this side's a little bit different, so we have to add the yarn back onto this side. We're going to do a slip knot on our crochet hook, insert, and then slip stitch to attach. And then chain 1 and single crochet across. Like I said, no rhyme or reason to where I am putting these single crochets. Just make sure you're not stretching your stitches out too much and you're not putting them too close together. I like to use these little stitch markers just to make sure my flaps stay even on both sides. Alright, and then I hope you remembered to leave those tail ends long because this is why. So we're going to actually use those to close up our flaps. So you're just going to take one of those long end pieces and use it as like a normal strand of yarn, like your working yarn, and then just slip stitch across and close up that end. And do the same thing on all the sides, and then we're just going to sew those ends in. So you're going to come to one side of your project that you don't have a tail strand to close up that side of your flap. So don't panic. All you're going to do is just the same thing that we did with the one side of our edge line, is just add the yarn back onto it and just close up that side of the flap, and you stop right where the flap ends. After you've done that to all four sides, you need to grab your yarn needle, and then we are just going to sew our ends in. So these longer ends that I have, I'm going to knot them a little bit and then just bring them to the inside of the flap. I ended up having a really short tail end, so I'm not even going to bother trying to knot it. I'm just going to bring it to the inside of the flap and call it a day. This is what your finished product should look like. Super easy. And then we're just going to slip it right onto our Swiffer. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was easy to follow along with. If you're more of a written pattern person, I will put the link below that has the written pattern in the description. Thank you. Have a good day.